Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two Canadian blended whiskeys, 80 proof, no age statement, and no website listing, both bottled in Kentucky by the Sazerac Company and produced in Canada by the Sazerac Company at their Montreal distillery, which is the only distillery they own there. Okay. From 1961, Canadian Peak. I got to hold it like that because it's a strange shape. 750 milliliter bottle, Canadian Peak, blended Canadian whiskey. Let's see, I already said that. Introduced 1961 and was not introduced by the Sazerac Company, but it's now owned by, well, it says on the back, County Line Distillers. That's one of their alias names. It's got a real wooden cap and a real cork. So interesting. $16 for the bottle. $16 for the bottle. And I checked around most of the internet website, most of the websites for like liquor stores, like Specs and other places, they got it for the same price, $16. The competitor, the Northern Lights, originally known as the Northern Light, singular, but now called the Northern Lights. Introduced in 1971 by a company called Hiram Walker. And there's the symbol. It says since 1879. No, 1971. Hiram Walker was started in 1879. Look at that. When you hold it to the light, the maple leaf makes the Northern Lights. So that's an interesting label design, isn't it? It makes a flame type effect that you would see the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. Okay, so let's go back in time 51 years ago. So started by Hiram Walker, but that company, Hiram Walker, was bought out by Barton Distilling, and they're owned by Sazerac now. So it goes through this series of ownership changes. A lot of the Hiram Walker brands, though, will reference Hiram Walker, like 10 High Bourbon shows a guy with his foot up on a barrel. And it's supposed to be Hiram Walker, the man himself. That used to be a big liquor company in the 1970s, but like a lot of other ones, such as Seagram's, the Seagram's company, they came under other people's ownership. Okay, this is an interesting brown bottle. It's good. Brown glass protects the liquor, the whiskey, from light damage, if that could happen. There's diamonds around the bottleneck. So there's diamonds, long diamonds. It says bottled by Barton Imports, Louisville, Kentucky. Even though they got bought out by Sazerac, they're still using that Barton Imports alias as though it's a separate company. But then it says at the bottom, on the bottleneck, we love to hear from our customers, Sazerac.com. So in case you didn't believe me. Okay, they're showing a shield with a maple leaf held up by two lions and showing a crown for the Dominion of Canada, which when they first started Canada in 1867, they wanted to call it the Kingdom of Canada, but they thought it would offend Americans who were anti-royalists. So they said, well, it's called the Dominion. They won't realize Dominion means a land ruled by a king or queen. Okay, and now it'd be the crown of King Charles III, right? Right. I was watching a video yesterday, and they were talking about the preamble of the Canadian Constitution, which really isn't a constitution. It's just a law called the British North America Act. They're like England. They don't actually have a constitution, really. But and the preamble said they were creating Canada in order to promote the interest of the British Empire. Okay. Real cork, real cork, real cork, real cork. Now known as the Commonwealth. yeah. Poured too much of the doggone. Oh, price. I paid. Now, normally it's $7.99. They got it at Total Wine right now. Right now, Total Wine, when it opens at 9 o'clock this morning, Total Wine has this bottle for $7.99. And that is not a lie. But what I'm about to tell you is going to sound like a lie. I bought this bottle at Winn-Dixie because they were getting rid of the 750s and going just to the handles. For whatever reason, I guess they sold a lot more handles than the standard bottle size. They put this in the discount shopping basket with the red tag, which I took off. It came off. $4.75. True story, $4.75. So I bought another bottle. I had a bottle previous to this, but I said for $4.75, I'll buy another one. And the other bottle is gone. It was, I'll drink it all. And then, so I got this one. Let me rinse my hands. Total Wine says this. And they got it from the company because they're not writing all this stuff up. Product information, Canada, sweet to the nose. This medium-bodied whiskey should be a hyphen there, medium-bodied, medium-bodied, but that's right. Medium-bodied whiskey has a smooth mouth feel and silky entry, carrying sweet caramel flavors that are freckled with cinnamon spice notes. Finish is short. I thought it was medium myself, and mildly sweet. Okie doke. Short and mildly sweet. They're showing an old bottle design. They're like they're showing the old label design from 1971. I don't know why they're not showing the updated label. Their website's screwed up though because you can't bring the photo up. All right. I'm going to write a review on it after this. There's only one review, and that's from 3 years ago, so I'm not going to read that. It's too old. And then on, Google, there's reviews. Well, are there any reviews? I can write a review. Doesn't look like there's any reviews. There's no score. Okay, well, I'll be the first one. All right, here we go. Still have too much in there, but I'm not going to keep fooling. It's not. I don't think it's enough to make a difference in weight. I hope not. The natural flavors kind of threw it off last night because yesterday evening I did a Monday evening thing with James Fox versus Canadian Peak. They were close though. I mean close, and I was really trying hard. And then I said, I think I'm picking up these little subtle flavorings, and that's what it was. So does the Canadian Peak have flavoring added? It doesn't seem like it does. And it doesn't say it. And Sazerac usually will put that. I've noticed when they have flavor added, they'll put it. They'll just say whiskey with natural flavors. This one doesn't say that. It's an option. They can add the flavor or they can skip the flavor. It's all however they want it to come out. The flavor profile thing. Natural flavors such as barrel-aged wine of any sort, just as long as it's aged in wood for 2 years or longer. So think about adding wine to whiskey. It's going to give it all kind of weird flavors, even if it's only a small percentage. Or they could add rum, white rum, gold rum. That would make it taste strange. Jeep and Foodie said, good morning, Ron, checking in. Good morning to you, Jeep and Foodie. All right, so you could get pretty exotic. Now, bourbon's protected from that. American, well, the only kind of bourbon in the world is American. Bourbon You're not allowed to add flavor into it or coloring. No color, no flavor. Do these have coloring added? Well, possibly. They're pretty light, though. These things are pretty yellow, but it's possible they could be adding a little caramel color for consistency, but they're pretty light. Let's see, next thing. Yeah, so bourbon cannot have any coloring, bourbon or straight bourbon. Bourbon, that's two different things. Bourbon nor straight bourbon is allowed to have coloring or flavoring added. Now, blended bourbon, that's a different story. It is allowed to have flavoring and coloring. So if you see a thing that says bourbon with natural flavors, then you're looking at it has to be blended bourbon because the other two don't allow it. All right. Yeah, sweet corn, little rye spice. These descriptions that you read on the internet of the sales description, they always seem like overplayed, like way more elaborate than what you encounter. But then it could be that, in my case, I'm not that good at picking up all of these complexities you see. Maybe it really is that complex. What brands of blended bourbons are there? Well, for instance, there is 10 High, which I can get right there in Matherns, or Walmart. There is, and there's two different labels on 10 High. There's one with the guy with his leg propped up on the barrel, and then there's one with the eagle. And I think they're different. Like the one with the guy with his leg cocked up is not with flavors, and the one with the eagle is, I think, if you look at the bottles. I don't know what the deal is on it. If you get Kentucky Gentleman, which is pretty popular, you see that around a lot, quite a bit. Kentucky Gentleman has natural flavors, and they've changed Virginia. They've changed Kentucky Tavern. If you look at the old bottles, like what I bought 3 years ago, it was Kentucky Tavern Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Kentucky Tavern Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It was $8.99 for a liter. I'm not joking. But the new bottles of Kentucky Tavern say bourbon with natural flavors. I say, oh, look at them. They cheapened it. I don't know why they did that, but they did. Okay. So that's 3 right there. Kentucky Tavern, Kentucky Gentleman, and the 10 High. And then I bought one in Arkansas, Texarkana, Arkansas, called no, I bought it in Houston, Texas, called Royal Kentucky. Now I think it's really just called Royal, and then it's Kentucky bourbon with natural flavors. Okay, so aroma, it's a draw. So appearance, they both golden. Straw, they light. I use beautiful English, don't I? They light. Straw. Now the aroma, they're the same. Sweet corn, possible spice. Not a whole lot going on there. So price, we're looking at an $8 difference. You can pay $8 minus a penny. Okay, so you can pay $7.99 and get the Northern Lights, formerly known as the Northern Light. Or you could pay $15.99 and get the same size bottle of Canadian Peak, which has a real cork and a real wooden cap. Now, if that's worth $8 to you, go ahead. But I mean, you really want to pay $8 in the flavor. Well, we don't know about the flavor yet, but the appearance and the aroma is identical. I wouldn't want to do it. But actually, I did do it. I wanted to taste Canadian Peak. All right, taste. Same story. Sweet corn, wood, oak, vanilla, oak, not charred oak. See, because they're aging it in used bourbon barrels. Sazerac makes a lot of bourbon, right? Pappy Van Winkle, Old Charter, Ancient Age, Benchmark, Barton 1792, Weller. I mean, you could just keep naming them. So they got a lot of ex-bourbon barrels. They're shipping them up there to their Montreal distillery. I can't remember the name of that distillery. It's on their website. And they're aging the Canadian whiskey in it. Is Canadian whiskey required to be aged in ex-bourbon barrels? Certainly is not. You could age it in new charred oak barrels if you'd like to, which would make it taste very similar to bourbon. It would be bourbon, except legally it could not be called that. So it's like you can make champagne, but you got to call it sparkling wine because it's not from Champagne, France. You can make cognac, but you got to call it brandy because it's not from Cognac, France. It could be 20 yards outside of Cognac, France, 20 yards, and it could not be called cognac because it's not inside the cognac region. Okay. So some of these designations are more about the region than the actual ingredients. It's region bound, you understand? All right. It's like the same thing. Sweet corn, spicy. It's true that they're saying spicy notes. It is true. Vanilla from the oak barrel. But this one over here does seem to have a slight bit more nutty notes, nuttiness, and say flavoring. I don't know what the nuttiness would come from. Maybe like if they're using rum or even like cream sherry. You know how if you drink sherry, it'll have that nutty flavor, like or even more so tawny port. Like if you get port wine, it's called tawny port, have like that nutty flavor. You could use tawny port in Canadian whiskey, yeah. As long as it's aged for 2 years or longer in oak barrels. I got to look those regulations up again because I think they changed the regulation where they don't even have these requirements anymore. I was looking at the modern regulations and it was just saying may have flavorings added up to that percentage, like 9.09%. But Canada's website, the government of Canada's website is very convoluted. Like it's like not user friendly too much. Not as bad as some other countries' websites, which is like almost like a labyrinth. Okay. See, that one's just like regular whiskey, and I think they're trying to mimic Crown Royal. So it's like you wanted to buy Crown Royal, but you don't want to pay $24, so you get this for $16. Have you lost anything? I don't know if they're using 50 different whiskeys like Crown Royal does. They use 50 different whiskeys in Crown Royal, most of which probably have no flavor. They just for the body. I don't know. Maybe they're using 49 whiskeys in this. I don't. But yeah, it's kind of regular. Crown Royal is kind of regular. Just, it's the #1 selling whiskey in the United States. Imagine that. The best selling whiskey in the whole United States is Crown Royal from Canada, and it just tastes kind of ordinary, bland. But it has to be that way because it's a mixer. Everybody mixes. What do you hear people saying? I'm going to drink some Crown and Coke. Well, if you're going to take whiskey and mix it with Coca-Cola, don't pay too much, okay? And I know I wouldn't pay $24 a bottle to go mix something with Coke. No way. I'd just pay $7.99 and get the Northern Lights. In this case, I think this is the Canadian Peak. And I got it right. 3-0. Great. 3 wins, no losses. And I'm very happy about that. After the disastrous results of the previous bourbon, the Jethro T Boots, JT Boots versus everybody got 7 right and 7 wrong. That was pretty disheartening. 7 and 7. You say it's 7 and 7. Seagram 7, Crown, and 7 up. Yeah, that's what I got. But that's okay. Now, what's the final assessment here? Well, the flavors are similar, not quite the same, because of the Northern Lights having a slight little bit of like natural flavor added, but it's subtle. It's not garish, oh, this is so overdone. No. They just tweaked it a little bit. But it's the winner. I mean, you get a comparable product, and notice I never talked about any harsh bite or bad burn or anything. It's not bitey. It's not burny. It's not anything except just regular. You know what I mean? It's not remarkable. I wouldn't tell somebody, oh, you just got to try the Northern Lights. You just can't believe it. It's so great. No, you're not going to tell anybody that. But if you were at a liquor store and somebody said, I never had this stuff, the Northern Lights, is it worth buying? You could tell them, yeah, it's worth buying. It's just ordinary. But it's not bad. And for $7.99, there's your win. There is your win. So that's how you come out ahead. I would trade off, personally. You say, you cheap. You're cheap. You're cheap. You don't want to be a man and pay $24 for Crown Royal. You're going to buy the Northern Lights and save $16. I mean, if you want to call me cheap, go ahead. But I mean, I'm saving $16 and I haven't lost hardly. But just do the taste test. Tell me if you've lost anything, really. I mean, honestly, have you really lost anything? You say, well, Crown Royal got an embossed bottle. Okay, this one's embossed too. It's got diamonds on it. And this one's a brown bottle. Crown Royal is clear. This one, theoretically, at least, probably not in reality, but theoretically, this one protects the whiskey from the light. You say, but Crown Royal got a more fancy bottle in a felt bag. It's true. It's got a more fancier bottle in a felt bag. This one comes, like this, glass, no box, and then twist cap, plastic. Crown Royal's a plastic twist cap. It's just shaped like a crown. And it might seem like I'm on some kind of like axe to grind issue with Diageo and Crown Royal. And I guarantee you, I am not. I am not one of these Crown Royal haters that roam around the world waiting to go on the offensive if somebody mentions Crown Royal. They have these type of people. You'd be at a party somewhere, a wedding reception, and say, yeah, yesterday we bought some Crown Royal. They'll run across the reception hall straight toward you because they overheard you, and they'll be like, I hate Crown Royal. It's like, we weren't even talking to you. Like, why did you feel the need to run across the reception hall to tell us you hate Crown Royal? But they got people like that. They're out there. They're everywhere. Obviously, their mission in life is failing because it's still the #1 selling whiskey in America. But, it's like the Grateful Dead. You could be the same thing. You'd be at the wedding reception and say, yeah, I was listening to Terrapin Station the other day. They'll be up there with their drink. They'll set it down and run across the reception hall. I hate the Grateful Dead. I heard you say Terrapin Station. I hate that band. It's like, man, they've been finished since 1995 when their lead guy died. Why did you feel the need to rush across the hall to tell us that you hate the Grateful Dead? I hate them. I hate them. Okay. I hate squash. I need to go, announce that to everybody. But you get that out there. So it's the same thing with Crown Royal. It's like a magnet for mania. Oh, you say, like Budweiser beer. Same thing. It's just a weird thing. All right, anyway, but nobody's going to rush across to tell you that they hate these two products because nobody cares about the Northern Lights and Canadian Peak. The worst you get is indifference. People would say, just look at you like with a blank stare because they're not even paying attention to you because you mentioned a product they have no perception or relationship to. So anyhow, that's the end. They do taste slightly different. I was able to pick that up, but the difference is so slight that it's practically irrelevant. And so then, of course, the Northern Lights wins, because there's not any kind of real, practical, there's not really any, I can't even say the words, important difference. And so it wins. There you go. So Canadian Peak is fine, but its disadvantage is that it's a $16 bottle. You say, well, that's cheap. I know. But the problem is that it's not winning against bottles half the price. You say, that's rot gut Canadian whiskey, $8 a bottle. Rot gut. It's rot gut. People love to say that. It's rot gut. Okay, all right, rot gut. Which, going back to the premium brands like Crown Royal, doesn't really ever beat the rot gut. So think about that. All right, so I'm gonna save some of this because I'm gonna go write the written review right at this very exact moment. So thank you. And then we got Wednesday, because today's Tuesday. Wednesday, we're gonna do Canadian Peak versus an even more obscure Canadian blended whiskey called Caliber, which is a Walmart only brand, supposedly, except that I've seen it at other stores, but that could be some funny business going on. Caliber, if you look on the trademark, it says it's owned by Walmart Apollo, which is their actual technical name, Walmart Apollo. But I just bought a bottle just bought it 2 years ago at Rouse's at Rouse's. So if it's a Walmart only brand, why did I get it at Rouse's? You see the problem, but whatever. All right. And if you have a Walmart in your area that sells liquor, like we do, all our Walmarts sell liquor, you'll know about Caliber because they're everywhere here. It's common here in Louisiana. Very common. All right. Thanks, everybody.